right. I think we should be live here.
Well, we was already live before this.
All right. I think we should be live here. All right,
Before
so we're
this.
live. Dr. Stan, Dr. Stan Harris. So they say that the modern man, the masses of men lead lives of quiet desperation, the masses of men. And so they even say that there's a male epidemic nowadays. And my theory is that the main reason for that is we've lost a sense of heroism. So then Ralph Waldo Emerson also said the search after the great man is the dream of youth and the only true occupation of manhood. So I'm glad that you joined me on this occupation of searching after the great men. And for all of those of you joining us live, I have a great man with me here, somebody who I'm sure when you hear him speak, you'll understand why I brought him on. So, Dr. Stan Breakthrough Harris, how are you doing today?
Man, I'm excellent, man. Can I tell you the truth how I'm doing?
Tell me the truth.
I'm too blessed to be depressed. And if I ever got depressed, I'm too blessed to stay depressed. I'm too
Mm.
glad to be sad, too anointed to be disappointed. I'm too elated to be agitated, too legit to quit, too grounded to be confounded, too grateful to be hateful, too gifted to be restricted, too good to be withstood, too saved not to be getting paid. Business is booming, checks is in when I'm happy on purpose.
Man, man. Well, I'm glad you could hop on there with me. So, for those of you who don't know Dr. Stan, just right there, I'm sure you can already tell listening to him is like a shot of adrenaline to the blood. And and yeah, so Dr. Stan, between I don't even know where to start, honestly. Like you've got 1 out of 100 people with a 10th degree black belt, and then also one of the Hall of Fame motivational speakers, along there with Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn, all of these legends, Tony Robbins, Og Mandino. But one thing that you talk about that I think might be a good place to start is you actually talked about how the book by Og Mandino, The Greatest Salesman in the World, had a big impact on you. So can you tell us a little bit
Yes.
about that?
Oh man, I'd love to. And first of all, let me just say, because they probably see this behind this Dr. Breakthrough. I
Mhm.
always got to give a disclaimer. They call me Dr. Breakthrough, but I can't provide a breakthrough. I just prescribe the breakthrough. But when people follow my breakthrough prescription, God Almighty provides the breakthrough they desire and deserve. And the breakthrough is exploding through barriers that at one time seemed insurmountable, like that caterpillar that's slow moving on the ground. But by the time it has its breakthrough, it's a beautiful butterfly flowing freely through the sky. And that's like my life. I mean, I was a mess. I was a zero, and all these accolades and different things that I have now didn't start there at all. And as a matter of fact, I'll never forget another hero who was a zero, Myron Golden. We've been friends for 48 years. I was blessed to mentor him spiritually in the beginning days in the martial arts and was even a professor at the Bible college he attended. As a matter of fact, I jokingly say he quit. It kind of quit, flunked out, but we forgave him because he went on to make millions of dollars and helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
But he's a guy, he would say to me, he's like, that's before I was doctor. But he said, man, he said, bro, he said, man, he said, you're the best salesman I ever met in my life. He said, bro, I was like, man, I'm not a salesman. I'm a minister. So all I want to do, man, is just love people, tell them about the love of God and how he changed my life. He can change their life. And he said, yeah, I know. He said, but man, I'm telling you though, he said, man, he said, I take these lessons on sales. He said, man, you do naturally what they teach. He said, if you ever got into business, you'd blow it up. And I'm like, I don't want to get. I said, man, look, I'm not like you. You got this brilliant mind. You could do Bible in business. I just
Mhm.
want to focus on the Bible and loving people and traveling and preaching and breaking my boards and bricks and letting them. He said, I get it, bro, but I'm just telling you. He said, but I just want to encourage you. But anyway. It was Christmas time. Myron and his wife come over and they give me a gift. And I'm like, man, thank you. He said, man, you've been a blessing to me. He said, I want to bless you. And so I open it up and there's a book, and I'm looking like, no, he didn't. Og Mandino, the greatest salesman in the world. Dude, you know I don't like sales. What do I want to read a book about sales for? Right? That's my response. And I had to repent later on. But anyway, so here's why I believe in the power of books. I put that book on my shelf and it sat there for like 2 years, a good 2 years at least. And then it was like the Lord kind of spoke to my spirit. I didn't hear audible voice, but it kind of spoke to my spirit. It's like, look, the guy gave it to you as a gift. Why don't you just read it?
Mm.
But because of that, my energy, like people would always say, "Oh, you make a great salesman. You'd be good in network marketing." Or what I was like, get away from me, Dad. And so I'm on my way to travel to preach somewhere. I'm on the plane. Usually my family go with me, but this is a little short trip, and so we travel in the motorhome. But this time I'm just flying, and so I'm like, well, let me just read the book. And quite frankly, my attitude was it was kind of bad back then. I was like, let me read this stupid book on sales. I don't want to know nothing about, right?
Mm.
I start reading it, and all of a sudden, Augmandino, there was a statement where he said this. He said, I love you because I love me, and I'm going to serve you by giving you the greatest service because I sell to you out of my love for you. And it starts because I love me.
Mm.
I, I'll never forget. I don't know, the book didn't say this, but I remember saying to myself, man, I don't even think I like me. He
Mm.
said, because I love me. And I'm like, and I remember I said, Stan, I love you. And I broke down crying. I'm on the airplane, man. I'm like, when you try to, and there's this little old lady was next to me, and we've been talking, and I talked to her about the Lord and everything, and she's like, "Young man, are you okay?" I was like, "Yes, ma'am." I said, I never loved myself before now, and I said, "I'm reading this book, and it opened my eyes. I just got one of the biggest breakthroughs ever in my life."
Mm.
And so it's kind of like reminding me of the scripture, love thy neighbor as thyself. In other words, if you don't love you, the reason a lot of people can't love their neighbors because they don't love themselves. And because they don't love or like themselves, they don't like their neighbor.
Wow.
And so all of a sudden this thing hits me. I'm like, wow. And so now I'm understanding because basically I grew up without a dad, and a lot of guys that grew up without a dad, we tend to become this type A driven type personality where we're in essence underneath it all, we're really trying to get the affirmation of our dad. We're trying to win the approval, right? And so we figure if we could start doing all this stuff and become, and so subconsciously, I'd never liked myself. I was, everybody told me, you dumb kid, you never amount to be anything. And I internalized a lot of that. Matter of fact, Les Brown and I were speaking one time in London, and he had mentioned usually I speak first and he speaks. This time they had him speak first than me. And so he talked about don't allow other people's negative opinion of you to become your reality. And I thought, man, that's powerful. And he talked about being labeled educably slow. And of course, he and his twin brother were born in an abandoned building. And anyway, and then he went through how this teacher, called him up and said about, hey, I want you to write this on the board. He said, well, I can't, I'm retarded. And he said, no, you're not. Who told you? No, don't repeat that. Don't say that. No, 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 you're special. You're amazing. And so he said, don't ever say that about yourself. And so Les talked about how that God used that teacher to help him to change and start believing he was somebody, right? And so I said, Les, that was great. I said, but I think I got something even better. Now speakers, we talk like this to each other. And he's like, Doc, what you got? You're kind of looking like, what you got, man? I said, I mean, don't get me wrong, man. That's just powerful. Don't allow other people's negative opinion to become your reality, because that was like part true of my life. I said, but the greatest thing I found is to only allow God's opinion of you to become your reality. Because God calls us overcomers. He calls us more than conquerors. That means we're champions. So instead of me fighting not to allow negative people's, opinion of me to become my reality, let me just go ahead and embrace God's opinion of me and let that be my reality. And I don't have to worry about what the other people are. He said, okay, you got me. He said,
Yeah.
you're right on that one. But I said all that to say that book that was given to me by Myron Golden on Augmandino that I wouldn't read. I didn't like it. I was even a little upset with him for getting it because I said, I don't like sales and don't want anything to do with it. I don't mind you doing it, right? But for me, but little did I know within that book, it had a link for my breakthrough. I don't know if you remember, David, you remember those old combination locks? You had to have three numbers, and sometimes you got two numbers. You're a little younger. I don't know if you remember, but
I
we'd
think I
have
do.
yes, a combination lock. You'd have to have three numbers, or sometimes it's the ones where you turn it, back and
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you have two, you got to have three numbers. If you have two numbers, it's like it almost come, but it's not. And that was
Yeah.
kind of like my life was like. And then when that Augmandino book, when I finally understood and loved myself, and that understood that truly selling at the highest level and the right level, because I thought selling was some loudmouth, fast talking guy talking to something you don't want or need. And then it dawned on me, no, selling is serving people at the highest level out of a heart of compassion and love and meeting their needs. And I was like, oh man. And so anyway, make a long story short, I went on, we made millions of dollars
Yeah.
selling things. And I don't sell to people, I sell with people. I help open their eyes to what they want and how this can help them get what they want, what they need. And so that was kind of a long answer, but I
Yeah.
think maybe it'll help your audience. I'll make
No,
them shorter.
no, that's a great answer. The I think actually in that book, for those of you who read it, there the 10 scrolls.
Yes.
The
Powerful.
first one is actually about love, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So that's a huge, I think that's a huge brain shift for that a
Yeah,
lot of people have to
yeah,
go
because I
through.
always had this performance thing. I thought I got to, I got to perform, and if I could prove that I'm somebody, I could if I could do these great things, get people to like me, right? But
Mm.
people couldn't like. So let me give this. This is a breakthrough for somebody. When I didn't like me, nobody else seemed to like me. Now, thank God, Mama loved me no matter what, right? But outside of Mama, when I didn't like me, nobody else liked me. When I learned to love me, other people started loving me. When I didn't like my speaker, nobody else liked my speaker. When I started loving, when I became my favorite speaker. Now I know this is going to be crazy to somebody out there. I became not one of, I became, when I started looking at myself, I'm my favorite speaker. Guess what? All four of my children have said to me independently, you're my favorite speaker, Dad. My wife, Kimmy, you're my favorite speaker. So there's something about the way we view ourselves is the way that a lot of other people view us because they view us through our own eyes. And
Mm.
here we are thinking that if we do this, the people will like us. But the real problem is you don't like you. And so the breakthrough occurs, watch this now, when you beat the bullies on your brain and that bully of low esteem or not feeling like you're not enough. By the way, let me tell you something. Not a million sins nor a million acts of righteousness could increase or decrease God's love for you. He loves you, my friend,
Mm.
unconditionally. As a matter of fact, he loves you just the way you are. I got to tell you, he also loves you enough not to leave you the way you are. Kind of like my beautiful wife, my ABCD adorable brown caramel delight. She just accepted me like I was, right? But there was something about her that inspired me to want to be more.
Mm.
That's the
Yeah.
key.
Yeah, that's huge. I think that's like a master class on changing your mind around sales. So
Mm,
I actually you mentioned something about like how you started out with the mess, which I think would be a useful thing for a lot of people to hear.
okay.
You said that you grew up without a father.
Yes.
So could you tell us a little bit about that story, how you came up from that, and maybe how you were able to find a different path? How did things change around for you?
Well, man, great question. And by the way, David, I want to thank you, man, for what you do and what you're doing here because I wish I would have had the opportunity to get a hold of some information like this with somebody interviewing somebody that I could hear and I could identify and learn some principles that could help me. So again, thank you, my brother, for what you're doing and to make a difference in the world.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you
so yeah,
for joining.
so I've been blessed to travel, speak all over the world, all 50 states, 28 countries, and people are like, man, like, bro, like you're amazing, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, I appreciate it. Thank you. But that's not where I came from. And some people, they kind of thought I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. In the beginning, I'll be honest, I never told my backstory because I was too ashamed. And then it dawned on me, people were getting the wrong opinion. And I was like, well, I need to let them know where I came from. So I always tell people behind the glory, there's always a story. And sometimes the story is so gory, they don't want to tell you. But yeah, so my dad left when I was 3, never came home, never called, never sent mom a dime. Matter of fact, when I first met Myron, the other day he was in town speaking. So my wife and he called and said, hey, can we meet together? And so we had dinner together and I was laughing at it. I said, you still remember, man, when I first met you? And I was like, he was talking about his dad. I was like, you live with your dad? And he's like, well, yeah. I was like your real dad? Like you got your real mom and he looked at me like, yeah. I was like, dude, that, where I live, that didn't happen, right? So
Yeah.
dad left when I was 3, never came home, never called, never sent mom a dime. Now, and everybody's different, but some men and young boys especially that we have to really have that father figure, that strong man figure in our lives. And I think every man needs it to some degree, but there's some that need it even more, right? And so, and I was one of those ones because it didn't seem to bother my brothers as much, but me, it was like it was killing me. And at 6 years of age, by the way, I was out in the middle of the field playing, and we grew up in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Now I live just north of Dallas. And a gang of teenagers came my way. Now, David, has your body ever given you signals like that something bad's about to happen, right? You can like sense, right? But I was so afraid. I was just a 6-year-old boy. I was like paralyzed. I saw these teenagers coming my way and they weren't smiling. And my body was giving me signals and I was scared to death. And I tell people this, instead of running like I should have, I was paralyzed. So I tell people, don't allow fear to paralyze you. In essence, you should allow your fear to propel you, because kind of like a dog is running after you, you can run real fast. I mean, I could outrun Usain Bolt when the dog's after me, right? But I froze. I froze in my track, and they grabbed me. The guy hit me in the stomach, knocked the air out of me. I don't know if you ever had the air knock you, but you're like trying to breathe, you can't breathe. And so here I'm a 6-year-old boy, and I was trying to cry for help, and I can't even, and they start beating all over me. And so I'm calling out for help, Mom, help somebody. And again, I'm just a 6-year-old boy. One teenager could have beaten up a 6-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And literally from the time I'm bleeding from everywhere you can bleed, and the guy picks me up, slams me on the ground, and they start stomping on me like I'm an ant or a roach and kicking all over me. And then they flip me over on my back so I'm face up. They took a great big old bucket of tar. They poured that tar on my body. They poured it on my face, took a bunch of feathers, literally threw them on me, and left me out in the middle of the field to die.
Mm.
Man, I was a 6-year-old boy scared to death. And now I can't cry out because the tar would get in my mouth, and I got to keep my eyes closed. And thank God the tar wasn't hot, but it was thick. And somebody finally rushed me to the hospital. And so anyway, but I went through physical abuse, obviously, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, sexually abused. And even one of my mom's boyfriends would beat me with a steel choker chain for a dog, fiberglass bow and arrow set. And the kids in school, I got picked on all the time. And so I was bullied and chased home almost every day. My life was just a mess. I mean, I was like below a zero, right? Charlie Brown with little or no influence. I was like worse than Charlie Brown, no influence, no anything, right? And so just my life was a mess. It was so bad, David, that I actually tried to commit suicide on 2 occasions before
Mm.
I was even 12 years of age.
Mm.
And so let me say to somebody here, maybe you're like I was, you're feeling hopeless in a hopeless situation. But suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem, because now I'm living a life not of my dreams, beyond my dreams. And I would have missed all this if I'd have been successful in my suicide attempts. And so that's one of the things I love what I do now. As a matter of fact, just about every time I speak, my wife will say, "How was your therapy session?" Because I told her, during COVID when we couldn't go anywhere, I was like, man, it's like I feel like I'm like something's wrong. And I
Mm.
said, I just love it when I get to pour into people, because I've dedicated my life to educating, elevating, and empowering people to break through any barrier that would hinder their success. And so I like to say I ignite and reignite a passion of people for life, for love, for the Lord, and for business. So anyway, so that my backstory again, I'm just a mess, and flunking out of school. Matter of fact, I'll never forget the day I got in so much trouble in public school. My mom put me in Catholic school. I was about to get kicked out. Now you bad when you about to get kicked out of public school, but again, I just felt like nobody cared, and I was just reaching out. I was just I said, if I can't get attention by being good, let me try being bad, right? And again, a lot of people that have been hurt. If you internalize that hurt and that pain, and you become like this raging, it's just amazing. It's terrible. And so, like somebody today said, and I say in one of my books, hurt people who haven't been healed will hurt other people. Now, hurt people who've been healed can now help heal others. But there was a time when I was just so hurt, and I was like this raging, just man, everybody, I hate everybody. I hated my own self. I just didn't care about anything. My whole thing was nobody cares about me. I don't care about anything or anybody. And so mom put me in Catholic school, and I don't know how she did the miracle to afford it. I don't know. And try to help me out. And I ended up getting kicked out of there. and and so I never forget coming home that day, and my mom, she worked 2 jobs to take care of us. She was laying on the couch. She woke up and she said, "Boy, I'm doing the best I can to raise y'all. and I don't have a man to help me. And she says, like, you about to drive me to an early grave or something. And so, all of a sudden, something hit her because all of a sudden she stopped. Because first she was like getting on me, right? And she stopped and she started crying. I had never seen my mom raised 5 boys, so I never she was tough. So I
Wow.
never seen her cry before. My mom starts crying, and I'm like, what in the world? And then she says to me, but you know what? I know one day you gonna make me so proud of you. I just know you are. And man, that was like an arrow that just went through. Man, and as a matter of fact, my mom, she won this free month of karate lessons, and I went with her. And by the way, I made this decision. I will never get in trouble in school again, and I'm going to make her proud of me. Well, she wins this free karate month of karate lessons, and none of my brothers go. I go, and I'm watching. They're kicking, screaming, hollering, and I'm thinking, man, this is great. Well, her free month was over, so she started paying her money. I mean, free is good, but when you're serious, you're willing to invest something, right? And she got better and better and better until one month, David, she got too good. What's too good? Well, her and her boyfriend got in a fight, and she knocked him out cold. I mean, my 5-for-1 mom knocked out a 6-for-1 guy. He's laying on the ground. Looked at my brother. Ron looked at Ron. We looked at the guy on the ground. And said, "Man, whatever you do, don't mess with my mama, man. My mama's bad. My mama's bad."
So
But he
you guys watched her knock him out.
watched him, and so
What did it feel like to see that?
yeah, she took what's called Shotokan karate,
Yeah.
Japanese style. So anyway, so I said, man, this karate is it. And again, I had like a Popeye moment. I've stands all I can stands. I can't stand no more. And I'm gonna learn how to protect myself. I'm gonna make my mom proud of me. I'm going to do this thing. And so the martial arts was my ticket. I said, I'm gonna learn this. And so I got started what's called Ishinryu karate. And I never forget, I was like, I just want to learn self-defense. I just want to learn how to fight. And they said, no, we got to teach you self-discipline. I was like, no, I don't want, I just want self-defense. They said, no, we got to teach you self-discipline first. No, I want, they said, look, if you learn self-defense without self-discipline, you'll be like an uncontrollable weapon and you'll harm yourself and others. So we won't teach you self-defense until we first can teach you self-discipline. I said, okay, whatever I got to learn, but as long as I get to the fighting part. And the self-discipline was the thing that changed my life because even my own feelings, matter of fact, I teach people now, don't give life to every feeling and don't give thought to every thought. Sometimes these our feelings can lead us astray, and so you can't, your feelings have you up and down. But see, champions, we do stuff when we feel like it. We do stuff when we don't feel like it. We just do stuff until we do feel like it. But when I was a mess, I was just living based on my feelings. If I felt good, I did good. If I felt terrible, I said, no. Matter of fact, you got to get to the place where you learn not just to feel not feel every feeling. You can get to the place where you start telling your feelings how to feel. Because I'm gonna feel great today. I'm gonna have people always say, "You hope you have a great day." I'm like, no, you got to hope. I'm gonna have a great day on purpose and by design. And see, I tell my feelings now how to feel, and then my thoughts, because sometimes you have these super negative thoughts or whatever. I'm driving the highway one time, man. I talk about my book, Your Breakthroughs Guaranteed. And I pulled my car over the side of the road, opened up the passenger door. I got out, going around, opened the passenger door and yelled top of my lung, "Get out!" I'm sure people driving the highway think, what's this crazy guy? And what I did was I kicked, you heard of Murphy's Law, right? Anything bad that can happen will happen to happen. I kicked
Yeah.
Murphy out of my car, kicked him out of my mind, kicked him out of my house. And I said, I don't like Murphy. I don't like his law. I don't even know who he is. So I know me. So I'm going to write my own law. And so I wrote the Dr. Breakthrough Law. Can I give it to you real quick? Is this real short?
Sure.
Everything good that can happen will happen. And it will happen at the best possible time, even though I may not recognize it at that time. Right? And sometimes I don't recognize it at that time, but later on, like the good book says, and we know that all things work together for good. So even that time of me getting beaten, tarred, and feathered by those teenagers, that worked out for my good because pain and adversity, it causes some men and women to break, others to break bad, but still others to break records. And so I tell people within your pain is hidden power, and you can allow that pain to push you to your prosperity, harness it and push. And that's what I did, my friend. But I started off a mess. And now, by the grace of God, I'm a master, grandmaster in the martial arts, right? 10th degree. There's, I think you mentioned there's less than 100 of us out of, was it 8.2 billion people or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a 10th degree black when I got started. I just wanted to learn how to protect myself. And here's why, folks, you got to get your breakthrough. Because my mama got her breakthrough, and her breakthrough made me, because David, I used to see people do martial arts, and I was like, man, that's impossible. I can never do that. But when I saw my mom, I was like, wait a minute, that's
Yeah.
my mom.
She's
I
got
was
the
like,
same
okay.
genes.
And that's when it dawned on me. Instead of me, and by the way, as long as I thought it was impossible, and I was like, all the stuff I saw Marshall, I said, that's impossible, man. I used to think that's not even human. As long as I thought it was impossible, it was, right? So, folks, listen, if you think you are beaten, you are. And if you think you dare not, you won't. If you'd like to win but think you can, it's almost a cinch you won't. If you think you will lose, you've already lost. For this powerful truth we find, success begins with a person's will. It's all a state of mind. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger woman or man. Sooner or later, those who win are those who first think and then know that they can. And by the way, David and I know you can win. We know you can get a breakthrough, my friend. That's one reason why we're investing in you now, giving you this information. Because one of our greatest desires is to connect with someone or a group of someone who can empower us to be, do, and have what we secretly know we can become and achieve. And deep inside of your heart, you know there's more to life than what you're experiencing now. And so we want to be here to help you. And that's what I've committed my life to. Because if I went from a mess to a master, and by the way, that's what I said. Every master was once a mess. Therefore, every mess or mediocre person can one day be a master. And whenever a mess or mediocre person becomes a master, you now have a message that if you market to the masses, you can make millions. That's my story. I want it
Yeah.
to be your story as well.
Yeah. Powerful, powerful. I really like that from that story that you came, I feel like a lot of people always have some reason why we feel like we're not able to reach the thing that we have in our mind. But I
Mm.
think your story, like a lot of people could really draw hope from it, I think, because of where you came from. So thanks for sharing that.
Oh,
And
bro, man, it's my privilege. Like I said, man, to my wife, she's like, baby. So did you have a good therapy session? Because again, when I'm able to pour into people, because again, I'm a debtor. So people, God put people around me, David, that saw things in me that I couldn't see. And by the way, that's what a true mentor is. A mentor is someone who's done something you haven't done, who's been somewhere you haven't been, but yet who sees in you what sometimes you can't see and is willing to help to pull it out and bring it out. In this world, we have a bunch of what I call gold diggers, right? There's women wanting to get a man that they can just get the money on, and then we got male gold diggers, right? Trying to connect with them. Well, I'm raising a whole generation of what I call good, godly gold diggers. And that is, see, if you just see me years ago, I was covered with dirt and mud. Matter of fact, if you find a piece of gold or silver, it's not shiny, my friend. Even like a diamond is a piece of charcoal, dark, and guess what? But it passes the test of time and pressure and then becomes a priceless diamond. So I'm saying that's why they say don't judge a book by its cover. So I was like covered with dirt, covered with mud. But thank God some people saw something in me. And so I'm looking to train some good, godly gold diggers where we're willing to dig inside of people and help them discover there's greatness in them, help them discover you can be quote unquote somebody. Matter of fact, God doesn't make nobodies. And if he made you a somebody. As a matter of fact, that's why I say my story is again, I was a nobody that God and I made into a somebody. And the reason I say God and I is God won't do what you can do until after you've done. God can do what you can't, but he won't do it until after you've done what you can do. And so, God, I was a nobody. God and I made us into a somebody. And now I'm committed to telling everybody he can do the same and a whole lot more for anybody. Like Myron Golden's a perfect example. We used to be Batman and Robin. Like I was Batman, he was Robin. I was always the guy when I'd speak somewhere, get him up on platforms, hoping that somebody would have him speak and so forth. And now it's like I'm Batman, he's Superman. But I love that because I tell people if you believe like I believe and do like I do, what happens for me can happen for you. But because I'm not the standard, it can happen even better for you. And if you're one of those people like I am, like that, if you're ready to go from being a mess to a master, you gotta first of all, it starts with a mindset. You gotta have a mental shift. And that mindset, that's what's the powerful thing about listening to testimonials and interviews like this, because it helps you develop a different mindset. But you've got to have a mentor. And matter of fact, not just a mentor, several mentors, right? Why? Because having mentors is what I call the fastest, easiest, most reliable way of mastering any skills. As a matter of fact, it was Socrates that mentored Plato, and then Plato mentored Aristotle. It was Aristotle who mentored Alexander the Great. It was Andrew Carnegie that mentored Napoleon Hill, who wrote that powerful book, Think and Grow Rich.
yeah,
It was then W. Clement Stone, who mentored Jack Canfield, who co-authored the billion-dollar book series Chicken Soup for the Soul. And then Benjamin Graham mentored Warren Buffett. And of course, Warren Buffett has mentored millions. As a matter of fact, I like one thing Warren Buffett said. He said, you'll work until you die unless you learn to make money in your sleep. And that's another thing I do. I work with people with systems to help them to learn to make money even while they're sleeping. But Dr. Benjamin Mays, he mentored a young guy who became known as Dr. Martin Luther King. And now, even in his death, he's still mentoring millions. It was William E. Bailey who mentored Les Brown in the early days. And Les Brown, of course, mentored millions. And one time he spoke to 80,000 people in the Atlanta, Georgia Dome. It was William E. Bailey also mentored Jim Rohn. And Jim Rohn then mentored a young guy. You probably remember his name, Tony Robbins. And of course, Tony has mentored tens of millions, and he continues to do that today. I mean, in the Bible, like Moses mentored Joshua, and then Joshua continued to mentor those 3 million Israelites. It was Elijah who mentored a guy named Elisha, and then Elisha mentored this widow woman who lost her husband and was about to lose her children to the debtors in 2 Kings chapter 4, 1-7. And he literally taught her how to have her own business. And that's the first record of a home-based business right in the Bible. And she was able to pay off her debts, and her children lived the rest of their lives off the profits. In the New Testament, Ananias mentored a guy was Saul, who then became Paul. And then Paul mentored young Timothy, and young Timothy mentored the early church. And make a long story short, Jesus mentored disciples and said the most powerful thing I've ever heard when it comes to this topic. He said, the works that I do, shall you do also, and greater works than these, meaning that the mentee cannot just do what the mentor has done, but the mentee can double what the mentor has done. So that's why in Jeremiah 5:5, he says, I'll get me unto the great men who've known the way of the Lord. And sometimes you can't get to people in their person, but you can get to them through their books. And that's one of my mentors, Charlie Tremendous Jones, told me in the early days, you'll be the same you are today, 5 years from now, except for the books you read and the people you meet. Well, since he's in heaven now, I just kind of adjusted it, put the Dr. Breakthrough spin, and that is, you'll be the same you are today, 5 years from now, except for the books you read, the people you meet, the seminars you attend, and the information that you consistently implement. Come on now. Because again, if you got to go from a mess to a master, you got to learn what's called mastery. And it's like when I got started in martial arts, right? They told us what to do, David. They showed us what to do, but here's the key. Then we had to do it. See,
Yeah.
you can't just go to a seminar and hear somebody and think you know something. No, you're aware of it, but you don't know it. Mastery means it's over. By the way, if you're watching this program, I'm going to tell you something. When I was a young teenager and with Myron, we would listen to stuff I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of times, many tens of times, but some we would listen to hundreds of times over and over while other teenagers were doing stuff. No, we were listening to stuff over and over and over and finding something we could do about it and then practice it. And as you practice it, my friend, then you start becoming, that's what's mastery. So this education system makes people think they know something because they can quote it or say it. No, 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 no. Like we learned in the martial arts, sensei means teacher, instructor. And I was like, sensei, I know this. He said, no, no, you don't know it. You got to keep doing this over and over again until you can do it, not with your eyes closed, but you can do it subconsciously without even thinking. Somebody put you in a headlock, you just, and I was like, wow. So that's what we had to do.
Yeah. So, funny thing is I had some questions, but you kind of answered them without me even asking them, almost like you knew where I was going. So I was
Well,
gonna
look at
ask
here. Look at that background. That's some of the trophies. I got a whole nother
you.
room, and then I gave a bunch away. But I'm the guy that when I started the martial arts, I used to trip over my own feet. They called me Mr. Baboon.
Hmm.
And they said I would never, some of the ones in the class, like, this guy's he's never gonna do anything. And I was like, y'all can laugh now because one day I'm gonna whoop y'all. And that day came. As a matter of fact, when my instructor passed, he said, Dr. Breakthrough, when I passed, he said he inherits this whole system, my belt and this whole entire system. That was, again, one of the great honors of my life. But you're looking at the guy that used to trip over his own feet. I'm telling you, my friend, it doesn't matter how much of a mess you are, or even if you're mediocre. Do you want to master? You can and you will if you get I like to say, your breakthrough comes faster when one of your mentors is a minister and a 10th degree black belt grandmaster.
Hmm.
And David, sometimes your mentor will seem like a tormentor until you become an implementer. Because a true mentor doesn't just want you to hear what they have to say. It's like, now let's check and see if you've been doing it. Because it doesn't make any matter of fact, it'll kind of make it worse if you know a bunch of stuff and don't do any of it. Now
Mm.
you're feeling like under this condemnation because you know all this stuff and you're not doing it. So I'd rather just, in like an interview like this, we're covering so much ground, but we got to back up and slow down and just take a piece by piece by piece. And that's why I put together what's called a 21-day breakthrough challenge, where I took 21 of the most powerful things that took me from being a mess, mediocre, to a master. And I took the 21 most powerful concepts. And then Les Brown and I were speaking in a place, and he made a statement, and I was like, whoa, oh my goodness. He said this: the greatest speakers are those who can take the fewest words and make them go the farthest.
Mm.
I said, wow. So I had to painstakingly take those 21 things, like I had painstakingly boiled it down to the smallest, shortest component. So the 21-day breakthrough challenge is 21 videos. Get this now, they're only 3 to 5 minutes in length. But by the time you go through those, some people on the third day, some people on the fifth day, they have a breakthrough. So you're guaranteed to get one or more breakthroughs in 21 days or less. And I give you like 18 different areas that you can have a breakthrough. And then I show you how to do a breakthrough stack, because once you get a breakthrough in one area, now you can use these same principles and now get a breakthrough in another area. And the beautiful thing is, people are so busy today, man. I told somebody I'm so busy when I sleep, I wiggle my toes. But I'm not just busy, I'm productive. And the 21-day breakthrough challenge is for busy people or productive people, where you can just pause for 3 to 5 minutes, right? You can even listen to it while you're driving. I mean, you don't have to watch. I mean, it's a video, but you don't have to necessarily watch it. You hear the words. And I have some people that go through it every month. They start on the first of the month and go through. And I have people tell me, man, every month I get a different breakthrough. They say, man, this is just amazing. But that's the power of, again, it took me a long time to figure out what's the main thing, because people kept saying, man, how did you get from where you were to, I mean, this is crazy, man. And so I put that together. And so now we have it where people can take that 21-day breakthrough challenge and transform and change their lives. And so
Yeah.
anyway, that's
So if somebody does feel like they want that breakthrough, like where can they go to find this 21-day breakthrough challenge?
great question. Okay, so two things. One, they can go to theinternetmentor.com. So theinternetmentor.com. By the way, I got a few free things there, like my daily attitude adjuster. I had a guy, his life totally transformed by my free daily attitude adjuster. So he said, man, I had to buy the 21-day breakthrough challenge. He said, if the daily attitude adjuster was free, did that for me, I can't imagine what the 21-day breakthrough challenge. So he just texted me today. He's on day 9. But yeah, if they go to the internet, theinternetmentor.com. But then I need you to, I want you to give you assignment now. I'm gonna have you text me at this number, 717-275-3508. So 717-275-3508. Let me know you heard me on this program with David, I'm going to give you a coupon code, a coupon discount code that's going to take off 50% of the price. Y'all didn't, David, they didn't hear me. They didn't hear me. Let me say it again. So the internetmentor.com, you'll see the price there. But if you text me, say, hey, I saw you on the interview with David, 717, text me at 717-275-3508. I'm going to shoot you back a coupon code, and then it'll give you 50% off of the price. But again, I've got some free stuff there, like for instance, the art of selling without selling, or how to sell without being a sellout. That's a free course you can get on theinternetmentor.com. But you really want to get that 21-day breakthrough challenge if you want to work on going from being a mess or mediocre all the way to a master. Now, taking the 21-day breakthrough challenge will keep you from being a mess and help you to become a master, or being a mess or mediocre person will keep you from taking the 21-day breakthrough challenge. I hate to tell you that, but that's the truth. By the way, when you take my 21-day breakthrough challenge, I'm also going to send you a copy of my book. On top of the 50% discount coupon code I'm going to send you, I'm going to give you a copy of my book. One of my international bestsellers is called Your Breakthrough is Guaranteed, 7 Simple Steps to Your Success, where Les Brown wrote the afterword in that. And of course, I got endorsements from all kind of famous people, and of course Myron's in there and a bunch of other folks.
Yeah.
But
And
that's my
I'll
way.
put all of the I'll put all of the links in the
Okay. Yeah.
comments too.
But that's
Yeah.
my way of blessing. I'm gonna bless the action takers. See, somebody said note takers are money makers, but Dr. Breakthrough says, yeah, but action takers are bigger money makers. Oh,
Mm.
come on, somebody. So now, everybody else, even if you don't get anything, I want you to do this. Call that 24/7 hotline at 717-275-3508. Just call it and listen to it. That's actually my cell number, but because your name is not in my cell phone, it's going to go right to my voicemail. And by the way, the other day, somebody that I know, David, they called me, and I
Yeah.
happened to be free because a lot of times I'm busy, but I happen to be free. So I answered the phone, and they're like, "No, Dr. Breakthrough, please hang up." I said, "I got a friend of mine," and they were so discouraged. I said, "If you just hear this man's voicemail, it'll make the rest of your day and probably your whole week." So he said, "Please hang up. We're going to call back. Don't answer. We just want to listen to your message." And so I was like, "Okay." Then I had one guy that texted me the other day. He said, "Listen, I'm about to call your phone 3 times." He said, "Because I listened to that message." He said, "You say so much stuff so fast." He said, I'm going to try to write it all down. So I'm going to call 3 times in a row. Please don't answer. I just want to write that stuff down. So your assignment, if you'll take it, mission possible, mission breakthrough, just call 717-275-3508 and listen to the message. Now, if you want to go through the training, I'd love to work with you. So again, go to theinternetmentor.com, but text me at 717-275-3508. Let me know you heard me on this show, and I'll send you a 50% discount, give you 50% off of that price. And we'll make sure also we get you a copy of the book, Your Breakthrough is Guaranteed. I don't know how much more you want me to do. What can I do? I mean, it's like Christmas time, right?
Yeah. I mean, you must get a lot of missed calls, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Well, it goes right to voicemail. So,
Yeah. I gotta call this number too. I haven't heard that message yet.
oh man, listen
Yeah.
to it and let me know and let folks know. I think it'll
Yeah.
bless your heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So last question, you covered a lot of my questions, honestly. What would you say you would want to be remembered for when you're gone?
Hmm. Well, I aspire and I desire and aspire to inspire breakthroughs even after I've expired. So my desire is that I would be remembered as the guy. And this is how I got the name Dr. Breakthrough. Willie Jolly and I were speaking at Howard University 27 years ago. He said, "Dr. Stan, the way you write things on boards and bricks like fear and procrastination and doubt, and you break through those things, demonstrating that although things are hard, they can break through." He said, "And I know you got a doctor of divinity, PhD in martial arts, few credits away from doctor of naturopath." He said, "But branding's everything." And he said, like a person goes to a doctor and the doctor writes a prescription and they get helped. He said, "You're the guy when somebody needs a breakthrough. You're the guy with a prescription. You should be called Dr. Breakthrough." Yeah. He said, "That should be your brand." I said, "Willie, I appreciate those kind words. I'm not sure that's true, but I promise you, I will live the rest of my life to make sure it is true." And thank God it's stuck. So I'm going to give you
Yeah.
illustration. You asked the question. Here's what I want to be remembered by. And if you see this, let's see here. Uh-oh. Okay.
Yeah, I
Can
can
you
see it.
can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, let me take off my background and make you see it even better. So that's like a picture of life. And how many know that sometimes life will beat you up, right? It gets rough sometimes. And so I'm like the guy,
I
okay,
think so. I could see the top of the glass.
okay, all right. Yeah, okay. So that's good enough. Okay, as long as you see the top. Okay. Here's what I really want you to see. This is like a picture of you. Here's a picture of me. Now, here's what happens to you in life. Man, the winds of life come blowing, you blow out your flame. And you're like down, discouraged. I want you to know I'm the guy that comes along and reignite. And sometimes, man, you get beat up in life and you get knocked down and you get told you're nothing, you never amount to anything, and this goes wrong and this goes wrong. As a matter of fact, you just get drowning sometimes. And that's how some people are financially drowning. In their confidence is totally gone, whatever. And you know what happens? They hear people and they're like, "Come on, man, get back on fire." Nothing happens. So I'm the guy that comes along and I help ignite and reignite a passion of people for life, for love, for the Lord, and for business. And when you've been drowned like this, still as long as you wet, it's like, help, doc. I want to be remembered for the guy that just come along. There you go. Now, here's what I know. Give this a day or two, it'll dry out. It'll be able to beat on. But until then, I just need a little help. Hey, I'm stuck. I can't. Well, let me take that 21-day breakthrough challenge. And that's what happens. That's what I want to be remembered by. As a guy who ignites and reignites a passion in people for life, for love, for the Lord, and for business, and to help people get their breakthrough. And like a ball. Now, you're too young to remember the Super Bowl years ago, and I couldn't find one, but like a ball, when life throws you down, just bounce right back. And the harder it knocks you down, the more you bounce back. So the breakthrough is this: bounce back even better, baby. God bless you.
Wow. Well, so guys, Dr. Breakthrough, I feel like I had a breakthrough having this conversation. One of the biggest lessons I feel I take away from this for men out there who feel like they're a mess or mediocre, this is a story of hope and getting mentorship, getting somebody who's already where you want to be is the key to getting where you want to be in life. So, Dr. Stan Breakthrough Harris, I thank you for joining me on here. And yeah, we'll see you guys soon. Any
Well, man,
last words?
I thank you for having me, and I'm just going to give you 1 minute. I call this the broken versus breakthrough man. I refuse to be a settled or broken man. It's my right and choice to focus on being a breakthrough man. I seek opportunity, not security. I do not wish to be a kept American, humbled and dulled by having the state, a job, or a woman take care of me. I want to take the calculated risk, to dream and to build, to fail if I have to until I succeed. I refuse to live from month to month, always robbing Peter to pay Paul. I prefer the challenge of life instead of the guaranteed existence of so-called security. I'd rather experience the thrill of fulfillment than the comfort zone of familiarity. I will never bow to any master or disaster nor bend to any threat. It's my heritage to stand erect, unstoppable, and unafraid, boldly, full of faith, and say, this, by God's grace, I have done and will continue to do, because it's my time to shine. It's breakthrough time. And you, my brother, you, my sister, your time as a caterpillar has expired. Dr. Breakthrough says your wings are now ready. Come fly with me. God bless you.
Amen. Amen. Well, I'll leave it at that. All right.
Thank you, sir.